I want to present to you the 7-day SMART shift and wanted to ask you, have you ever set a goal, perhaps a weight loss goal, for example, and have you segmented it down into sort of individual steps and micro shifts pointing towards that long-term goal? Or have you stretched it and really only saw the end in mind, which was maybe losing 50 pounds, for example, and it didn't really think about all of the steps you'd have to take in order to finally accomplish that long-term goal? Well, that's what the 7-day SMART shift's all about. It's not about stretching the goal. Of course, we do have that long-term goal in place, but we look at it in micro steps or shifts towards that long-term goal. And it's the unconventional way of doing things, really, because typically we always set ourselves up for failure. It's sort of fears in a different way. It's false expectations appearing real syndrome, where we've got this expectation to lose the 50 pounds, but we really haven't been focused in the present of what we have to do today, right here, right now, or over the next 7 days to start moving towards that goal, because it's not going to be a leap. That's the stretch sort of method. It really is going to be incremental shifts towards that long-term goal. So this is what the 7-day SMART shift looks like. It's an acronym, and the S stands for small, simple, stupid. So this is how it all starts. Keep it small, simple, and stupid. And it's probably not going to be easy for you to do that, because human nature would have us overexceed and overachieve, and it's really difficult for us to break it down into something that guarantees us a win. That's how small and simple and stupid it really is. The goal that you set has to be achievable, just under the worst kind of scenarios. And usually I divide everything by 2. So it's the rule of halves. And if I think it's going to take this long, or I want to do this much, or whatever it is, I cut it in half. And that is usually the marker that works. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm underachieving. Quite the opposite, actually. Human nature would have it that when you hit that minimum marker, you want to go beyond that and be that overachiever. And you've got the momentum because you've got the minimum. And here's the other thing too. Life happens. We know that. And when life happens and you can't meet that minimum because you've set the standard too high, then you end up coming down on yourself, and you have a lot of guilt and negativity, and that really stalls you out and you lose all that forward momentum. So again, this is very counterintuitive, but I've been testing it for years now. I use it on myself. I'm setting SMART shifts every week for myself. Some of them are shifts back because I need to sort of get back on track with one of my facets and one of my practices within that facet. But I'm always setting these SMART shifts. It's the best way to gain momentum or to get traction in any type of shift that you want in your life. It doesn't even actually have to be for weight loss. And I use it for business. I use it for relationships. I use it in all areas of my life, but it works particularly well with weight loss. And that's because typically with weight loss, we underestimate. And that really sets us up for failure. It sets us up for defeat because we have underestimated what it's really going to take. So let's use the opposite approach, and let's just make it a guaranteed win in small, simple, stupid, so that we can crush it and even move forward and beyond that. And if we happen to have one of those days where life happens, that's okay, because we've set the minimum at such a realistic level. We'll hit it, guaranteed. And the next thing we need to do is make it measurable. This is where you need to be specific. And this is typically where I see people falter, because they don't make it specific. They make it gray or vague. And without being specific, it just leaves too much wiggle room. And you really never know if you've achieved the goal. And I think people do that because they don't want to be truly accountable to that specific measurement and know if they succeeded or failed. And it lets them hide out in a sort of way. And this is what we don't want to do. We want to make sure we know exactly where we're headed. And then when we hit it, and we're guaranteed to hit it, we can even move beyond that because we've set it so realistic. And the A is for accessibility. So again, I find a lot of people are very vague in this manner. They don't really know if they've got everything they need to get started. right? So if you need certain things, products or tools or whatever you need for this smart shift, is it accessible? Like, do you have it right now? Can you get started tomorrow? And if you don't, can you go to the store and get it and get started tomorrow? So accessibility is something you need to consider as well. And the next, we need to reward ourselves. So have you ever set a goal for yourself in any area of your life, and have you rewarded yourself? I know a lot of people have a real difficult time with this. In fact, when I ask people about their smart shift and how they're going to reward themselves, and I'm going to be asking you in a moment, most of them have a blank stare. They really don't know how to honor themselves and to recognize their success and give them something back that, it maybe is tangible, intangible, costs something, doesn't cost anything at all. It might even be giving yourself back some time, for example, and something that is nurturing, something that you feel is fulfilling. They have a hard time with it. And I really want you to consider what you're going to be rewarding yourself for your first smart shift, because that is going to be the challenge. And the last step is to make sure that you team up with somebody. So this could be a friend, a coworker, a family member. It could be somebody that has a similar goal or shift that they want to experience, or it could be something entirely different. It doesn't really matter. What doesn't matter is that you have some co-accountability, that you're accountable to somebody else and they're accountable to you, because you're always going to be accountable to other people more than you are yourself. And this is just human nature. It's the nature in me, and I imagine it's the nature in you as well. So we really want to extend ourselves here and sort of come out of our shell and share to others what we want to experience, what we want to create in our life, and do it with confidence, and also get them to do the same and help them recreate their lifestyle as well, and do it together. This is an important step. It's also another step that is missed. Nobody has a problem setting goals. We're always setting goals. We want this, we want that, all of our desires and aspirations. But what we don't typically do is reward ourselves, and we don't typically, again, come out of our shell and put our ego aside and extend our wishes with somebody else and share that, and also incorporate them in that shift that you're making as well, with some co-accountability and teaming up. So this is what it would look like if you were to set a smart shift. You're probably going to choose the food facet. That's the most common facet, and that's fine. So this is going to be a good example for you. And you might be saying, well, Kris, I want to eat healthier. So here's the problem with that. It's not small, simple, stupid at all. In fact, that is a book I could write. It's probably about 10 books that I could write just on how you can eat healthier. There's so much information, there's so many things to do, so many directions you could go in, that it's quite the opposite from something that could be a small, simple, stupid shift. So keeping it small, simple, stupid would be this. My goal is to eat more vegetables on a daily basis. Okay, perfect, all right? So we're being a lot more specific about it. And you know what? That sounds very realistic. It's quite simple, I think, to eat more vegetables. How many more vegetables? Well, eating 3 servings. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot. And this is where the stupidness part of the 7-day smart shift comes in, because we're really setting you up for success. We're not setting you up for failure, because 3 servings of vegetables, serving a vegetable would be 1 cup of leafy vegetables, lettuces, for example, or half a cup of your water-based vegetables like the cauliflower, broccoli, or carrots. So that's a piece of cake, right? Even if you didn't like vegetables, that's not a lot of vegetables to eat. So again, that might seem a little stupid to you, all right? But it's very realistic, it's very achievable, and odds are you're gonna crush it, you're gonna surpass it, and you're gonna have 6 servings, 9 servings, 12 servings, and you're gonna feel like a champion. And that's what I want you to feel, because you're gonna need that momentum. When it comes to weight loss, we're so hard on ourselves, and we need to be better to ourselves, because remember, that's when we stay energized with those feelings of gratefulness and fulfillment and peace and calm and joy and happiness. These are the kinds of feelings that I want you feeling, more so than all those negative based feelings that we're so attracted to. And The minute that you don't hit any type of expectation that you set for yourself because you've really overextended yourself, you've stretched it, then you're bound to have all those negative feelings and you're bound to land on your butt again, right down where you don't want to be in this sort of powerless state that we've been talking about. So measuring, again, would be 1 cup of leafy vegetables or half a cup of water-based vegetables. Accessibility. So, hey, if you don't have vegetables in your fridge, then you got to go out there and get them. They are accessible because they're just down the street at the local store, so you can definitely get them, but you need to get them before you get started. Rewarding, so, maybe it's a new outfit, maybe it's a hot bath, maybe it's a long walk in that conservation area or that beach that is, sort of local to you, but you haven't got out there yet. There's so many things that you could do to reward yourself, tangible, intangible, monetary, non-monetary. It could be just giving yourself back time, like I mentioned. And also teaming up. So who are you going to team up with? A coworker, a friend, a family member, who's going to keep you in check and who are you going to keep in check? And that's the co-accountability that we need and that we might be avoiding because we don't really want to tell people what we're up to because we think we're going to fail. But remember, the SMART shift is all about succeeding because we've set ourselves up for success with a small, simple, and stupid shift.